She's still got a few minutes. I called to order first. John's ready.
All right, good morning. It's March the 17th, just after 9 a.m., St. Patrick's Day on Isle of Palms and around the world. And I'd like to call the Accommodations Task Force meeting to order and welcome everyone that's in the audience as well as our panel here. And I'd like to acknowledge that the press and the public have been duly notified of this meeting in accordance with the Freedom of Information Act. Our first order of business would be, I think we probably should do a roll call just to make sure we have a quorum. Nicole?
Mr. Walker.
Here.
Ms. Limbach. Here. Councilmember Streetman.
Here.
Mr. K.
Here.
Mr. Jones.
Here.
Ms. Simbana. Ms. Vega. Here. Mr. Burns. Mr. Ayers.
Here.
You have a quorum.
Thank you very much. And our next order of business is the approval of the previous meeting's minutes. I hope that the task force pulled those up and had a chance to review those. And very few things that we'll be voting on in this task force. This will be more information, that sort of thing. But we do need to approve the previous meeting minutes. So if I can get a motion to approve, I would appreciate that.
So moved.
Second.
Second.
All right, any revisions or anything that needs to be changed in meeting minutes? All in favor, say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Nope, that's unanimous. All right, so we'll move on. What I'll do at this point, I think we're going to have a presentation, but I will turn things over briefly to Desiree and let her have a few remarks to say before we get into our presentation here.
Sure. Well, thank you for coming, our second meeting. Our last meeting, we talked about certain next steps and the kind of information you want to see to make sure that you make an informed decision. And one of the things that was talked about was wanting to hear from the CVP specifically and pretty much have an opportunity to ask questions and have a conversation about their ongoing tourism promotion program and plans for the city for the future. So Ms. Hill is here with her team, and we're happy to give her an opportunity to present and be available for questions. That's all.
Okay, we'd like to welcome Ms. Helen Hill, Explore Charleston Business Bureau. So you have the floor.
Thank you so much. And I'm so thankful today that our marketing director, Catherine Doherty, is with me. She actually has a family home here on Isle of Palms. I think about 3 doors down from you, Rusty.
That's what she says.
So really happy. I know maybe of you. I don't know some of you, and I'm just happy to share some information. So I thought I might start. Happy to start clicking through with kind of an overview of our organization, then talk to you a little bit about our relationship between the city and also and then some of other initiatives. So quite easily, our job is just to create the opportunity for someone to spend the night. We laugh and say that we have a very narrow vision in terms of creating an overnight visitor. It's not that we don't love all visitors, but the visitors that create the most impact are those who choose to spend the night. We do that, just to give you an idea, we're a 501c6 organization. We serve 9 municipal governments. We have a 27-member board, 52 employees, and a budget of $22 million this year. Just to give you an idea of who's involved in Isle of Palms, maybe Lynn was saying, Charlie Innes lives here. Rusty, my new board member, thank you, Rusty, for being on our board. David Jennings, who lives at Wild Dunes, is our treasurer. Frank Fredericks with Wild Dunes, well, formerly Wild Dunes, now we say now he's retired. And then Dan Batista is one of our board members who's the leader out at, what is that Dan's title?
Executive Vice President. He is the regional director of the Southeast.
It's very impressive. So that's who's been involved in the past. And obviously we've had a really, really long relationship with every administration from the past. And we're so thankful to have Desiree. So to give you an idea of where does that money come from? And so if you look at, we always say we kind of stand on a 3-legged stool. So about a third of the money is coming from local accommodation taxes. And that's one of the Isle of Palms is part of that. About another third comes from private folks. So those are those folks like Sandy who pay a membership and who participate in our programs. And then we have about a third of the money coming from the state of South Carolina. And that comes in the form of grants for marketing. And to give you an idea, so right now, if you think about what accommodations tax is being paid, So somebody chooses to spend the night here on Isle of Palms, they're gonna pay all the assorted sales taxes, right? And then they're gonna pay 2% state tax, 2% Charleston County tax, the 1% Isle of Palms fee, and the 1% that goes to the beach renourishment. So of all that, in addition to your state sales tax, comes to a total of 14%. So when they decide to spend the night, if the rate's $100, they're gonna pay $114. So if you look at where the money is that you fund the CBD from, is from the state of South Carolina accommodations. So it's interesting, and Doug, you probably could laugh about this a little bit, because one of the things we find out a lot, so you collect the 2% from the state, and it's sent to the Department of Revenue, and the state gets to keep 1% just to manage it, right? And then you have 2% go to regional tourism, and then there's something called the Robin Hood provision, which means you don't get back everything that you actually paid in, that you actually contribute to other parts of the state. And don't we have a few places where they don't even have a hotel to get a little money?
Calhoun County was one that's my favorite. Yeah.
So just so in terms of like you've collected them, but you don't necessarily get to keep it all. So then the money comes back to the government, and the Isle of Palms gets to keep the first 25,000. You get to keep another 5% of the funds. Then you give 30% to the designated tourism marketing promotion organization, which in the past has been us, and then 65% that's held for tourism-related expenses. And one of the good things that happened is the legislation got changed, probably been 15 years now, so that governments like Isle of Palms have a lot of tourism-related expenses. You have a lot more latitude on what you can do with your money than those folks that don't have a lot of tourism. So that helps the budget. So if you go to the next slide, you can see where the money, this was just a snapshot to give you an idea of how much money comes in from accommodation tax. So you got the money that you get back from the county. Desiree, you feel good about what you're getting back. You get a good chunk of change from the county. So that's that 2% the county gets. Get some of that back. You obviously have your hospitality fees. That's the restaurant part of it. That's that additional percent that's on your restaurant tabs. You've got your money that comes from your accommodations fee. Then you've got your beach preservation fee, and then your state fee. So a lot of times we laugh about, sometimes the numbers don't line up exactly right, and it's because of that Robin Hood. So the 2% county tax, the 2% state tax should be the same, but it's not because of the Robin Hood. So that gives you an idea of there's a lot of revenue coming into the city from the creation of an overnight visit. Does that make sense to everybody? I know it's a lot. It's very confusing. So as it relates to the money that we receive, that we're Charleston, that 36% is coming from all of these governments. So you can see the county of Charleston, the city of Charleston are the biggest players, right? Isle of Palms and Kiowa, the second after North Charleston. Does that make sense? So you've got all of these governments together choosing to create an overnight visitor for our community. So if you go back to our expenses, so what we wanted you to know is where are we spending the money that you're investing in? Well, the vast majority of it we're spending on marketing, group sales, and media. We spend a very small part of it on rent and other operating expenses, which we're pretty proud of. Y'all don't give me the money to pay people, right? You do give me the money to go get a visitor. For our program, Kat, I probably should let you talk about this, but for marketing, we feel really passionate about creating the desire for the person to make the decision to want to book a room here. And the reality is y'all don't need our help a lot in the summer, right? Because the people know about Isle of Palms, they know about them. But what we want to do is to create that desire for year-round visitation, because that's where the big impact is. So if you look at the things that we do, we really focus on print, broadcast, digital, online. We also had, when did we start Charleston? About 8 years ago. Yeah. We started a subset because from our research, we learned that some of the people who do visitors coming here didn't even really understand that we were beaches too. Like they didn't have that in their head. So that's really helped us create that interest. And what making our beach communities different is because of the what is to do in our area. So we got, I forgot to jump in I'm really excited about the new initiative that we have with the new Isle of Palms Chamber. One of the things that we have done is we've done what we think is great and important about this beautiful island. And with the process that our new chamber is going to be going through, Trina and I put what we say, it's more going to be more of a bottom up versus top down. Is this new group of business owners, thank you, Rusty, is really going to be looking at what makes this place special. Why does somebody want to come spend the night? And we'll be able to incorporate that messaging into the overall messaging. So it will exist by itself, and then it will exist as part of the overall messaging. So we're really excited about it. So this is just some ideas, some of the great print advertising. We're very fortunate that this island is great in photography. Catherine likes that. We've obviously done really well with the new Alpamps part of our website, and we're looking to add onto that. One of the things that came from the Accommodations Tax Advisory Committee, Ray and Doug's group, was that we really wanted all of the businesses at the Alpamps, not just people that chose to be a member of Explore Charleston, but every business. And this new platform will give any business who chooses to be there the opportunity to have that kind of business. So we're excited about that. It's coming along. We have many, how do we do it, Desiree? So we might have to have a push. We might need you all to help us get some people to say this is a great way to do something that's not expensive. So you can see how it will look. So you have everybody from Wild Dunes to the person who has an individual rental unit that perhaps they just rent on Airbnb. And it's been really amazing in terms of the reach. You want to talk just briefly about that, Kevin?
Sure, we partnered with Sinclair Broadcasting, who's the largest media company in the US for digital, and they are how we buy our streaming advertising. We have really moved seamlessly into that because of our presence already on social media and Google ad displays. So it's not that different for us, and we're able to track not just impressions. I feel like impressions is a little razzle dazzle and maybe not necessarily actually you've seen it, but we can tell you how many households in our target areas are able to watch, and we can match our target areas any way we want. We can do 3 to 6 hour drive market, which we definitely do, and then we can lay in our direct fly cities as well, and we can set all the parameters just like if you're running a campaign on the web. So it's been really nice. And to have the folks that we buy from actually is an Isle of Palms resident. Mary Margaret Helms, who is the general manager of Sinclair Broadcasting and Channel 4, lives on Forest Trail. So to be able to sit down and have her know exactly what our needs are is super important. We're not dealing with someone on the other side of the country. So this is how we determine our heat map. So once we say, okay, we want to target this person, someone that loves travel, that loves beaches and history and culture and all those things, then their system goes into those geo targets that we decide we want, and they find those households. It's really creepy Big Brother, but for our purposes, we love it.
Catherine always buys it where you can't fast forward through it. You know, that's what I think is great.
Charleston's a water town.
We don't water is part of the lifestyle. Whether you're fishing or canoeing, we've got so many family-friendly activities.
There are so many spots to go, from beaches to marsh. Nature is a big reason why people like to come here.
It's absolutely breathtaking.
In any season, you find your paradise, really.
So that's just one of 2 30 seconds ads that we have running all the time in this market. So
Then we move on to the what we consider media, which is that stuff that you don't pay for, which is what we call the unpaid earned media. And that's really selling to the press. And Brian, I'm not just talking about you, but just those folks that want to write. You know, we're very fortunate that we have a lot to attract people to write about. And the whole world now is about content. It's creating new content for people to be interested in, to spark them to say, gosh, I want to make that buying decision to come to the Alpamps. So we've done all kinds of things, and it's it's probably one of the busiest things we've had this last year because of the number of platform opportunities we have, right? From digital writers, TV, I mean, and then not in that kind of all the social and the press. It's really good. So you can click through this, so you can see so just some of the things that have happened in terms of lifting up the beach and the Alpamps as that kind of community that people would want to come to and stay. Now we get to group business. One of the great opportunities we have, thank you, Sam, when we opened the new Sweetgrass Inn, we've always had good group business on the outcomes. But this, the opening of the hotel with the meeting space, has given us a complete new opportunity. And from a revenue perspective, we really love it because those people that are sitting in a ballroom somewhere learning something are not driving around creating traffic, right? So we're really excited about the opportunity that has brought to our community. We added some new trade shows where we go to those planners to get them to come. And we've really had a lot of interest. It's probably been one of the most fun new things that we've done, because when you have a hotel on the beach, guess what? Who would not want to go to a meeting there, right? Everybody does. So click through some of the results we've had. This year, they're going to a new incentive travel show to, of course, that we've always done, American Signing Association Executives, our Professional Conference Managers Association, and IMAX. So some new shows specifically targeted at those folks who can pay a higher rate, right? But want to stay in this beautiful community. That's just some of the leads. We work really closely with the sales team at Wild Leads to make sure that it's a nice mix, and we sell together, which is good for us. It creates a lot of events. Now, my very favorite is the wedding business. So it's been really fun to see Charleston. We kind of were in the wedding business before it was cool, as it relates for destination weddings. And there's so many people now that either it was their first, second, or as our former chairman said, third marriage. There's a lot of more intimate kind of smaller events as it relates. Perfect for us to sell for our community. And I have to compliment the Wild Leads team. Those of you who have not been up on the roof of that, they even have a clear place where the bride and groom can take their picture and not have a balcony behind them. And it's funny that we've got so much good press just from that one piece of design element that changed it for weddings. I think we have a good wedding stuff coming up. And this is just an idea of the kind of ad equivalency. If we went out and bought some of this kind of press, we need about $5.2 million. So it's pretty impressive there. And then when we get to social, Calvin, you got to talk about this.
Sure. So we have a very robust calendar that we do year round. So any given day of the year, I can tell you what our social content is. But again, as Helen already mentioned, it's so photogenic out here. And the comments we receive from our viewers, we just on Instagram alone are over at 300,000 followers. To give you some context, some other cities in our competitive set are around 125,000. And our folks are engaged as well. So it's not just, oh, we added another follower. It's people that are liking. We also track saves, people that save the Instagram post, they go back to it, as well as following our stories. So you can see we're always lifting up those itineraries as well.
And I think that again, back to our social features, that's one more reasons we're excited about our new Outcomes Chamber is, again, those are the kind of stories that will come from that we might not know about from Catherine being out here, right? We might not know those stories. And so it gives us one more opportunity to create that image about why someone's going to choose to spend their hard-earned vacation dollars here. Those are some of our great samples for media. It's been great. Oh, tell them about the local guys.
So about 5 years ago, Rusty got to hear about more of this yesterday at our board meeting. We started choosing people in the community to tell their personal story and why they love living here in Charleston. And one of those is one of our favorite photographers that we work with, Kim Graham. And part of her story is a video, there's a social campaign, there's a landing page that's dedicated to her story. Is all about being out here with her daughter, Gracie, and how much they enjoy the beach lifestyle right here.
Well, I think that the fun thing about these is, when people are buying now, it's not as much about seeing an ad for a resort and saying, I want to go there. It's creating impact. They can see themselves in the story. And I think that's one of the things that both Kim and Chris's videos do. Is it puts you in the space and you go, gosh, I really want to do that, right? I want to be on that paddleboard, right? I think that's part.
Absolutely. There's some more examples of our social media. You can see all the likes, over 5,000 likes on several of these as well. So.
And then our publications, one of the things we have several different kinds of publications. We kind of thought that like print media was going to go away, and it's actually kind of been the opposite. People still want to hold something in their hands, and so we've had a lot of success with our print media. And one of the things that came from the Accommodations Tax Advisory Committee was they really wanted to have an individual page for the Isle of Palms, which will be new guide, and as the new chamber gets going, they'll have their own information in there. So I think it's a very positive step. And back to weddings, there's that wedding guide. We were talking about weddings. We're all about weddings. And just some other really cool things that have happened. I know this, you probably do talk about the key data metrics. One of the things we did, we brought a new research practice that really can help us not only to look backwards to see how did we do, because like if you think about how we've done, we know we've done very, very well, right, this last 12 months in terms of creating a high yield visitor. The great thing about key data, it allows us to look forward, to see what's coming forward. And that helps us make better advertising decisions because we know where the holes are going to be. And it's something that we've always partnered with our hotel partners, but this gives you a more complete picture that covers all of the villa rentals too. So you're not just looking at data for Maldives, you're looking at data for the whole island. And I think that will help us if you look forward to and you can say, gosh, what's going on with that 2 weeks? Why do we have no reservations there? So then we can target that area to create some business. So it's what your hotel partners have been doing for forever, but we've never done it as a community. We're so excited about that. Catherine touched on air service, probably the most important thing that we've done in the last 10 years. And it was really creating access for folks. I mean, reality is we need fewer people to bring a car to visit us, right? And we want them to come and stay and enjoy this. But the air service part and creating those corridors has made a big difference because there are a lot of people, and we're now finding that we heard yesterday at the board meeting, you're like, what the hell is going on with Richmond, Virginia? All these people, well, Breeze has got that new direct service from Richmond, Virginia. And before, it's not that we wouldn't have some great visitors from Richmond, you just couldn't get here without driving, 8 hours. So what we're starting to see is some direct benefit that heat map, Catherine showed. We're starting to see that play out and where our visitors are coming from. So if they have access, if they can fly here, they come. And while this specifically is a beneficiary of that, probably as much as anybody else, because the farther away they come, the more they're willing to spend, and most of the time, the longer they're going to stay. And the last thing really with workforce development, no big secret to anybody that right now getting staff is difficult. And so one of the things we're really focused on our private side is making sure that we are lifting up our community as a great place to work. And there's the key data. You can see where the rates were. This is the thing I shared with council. It's just hard to believe that the revenue per available room has increased 45%. I mean, that's just an amazing statistic. So you just don't see that every country. That's the nonstop cities. And then a little bit about workforce. And then one of the things that we will love to share with you that the council gets is a quarterly report to the municipal government, gives specific information to them in terms of how are you doing, right? Does Desiree need to cut the budget because we're going the wrong direction or something? To give you that kind of information that you need to make this. And I just want to close by saying that I appreciate the opportunity to be here. And I'd love to answer any questions. I brought my expert with me, so she's here too. I'd love to answer any questions that you have. And thank y'all for your partnership.
Okay, thank you, Heather. Questions?
The Isle of Palms that this new website just came on, right?
Yeah.
Nothing,
Was that-
nothing
Is it up yet?
before.
It's not up yet, right?
No, we're still waiting on some more businesses, but we have had the Isle of Palms page and section on our Charleston area beaches for over 8 years. I mean, that has its own separate direct marketing campaign. So we've certainly been highlighting the beach in that way.
And I think
as
the
well.
new thing that we're excited about doing is we've done a very good job of selling the beaches of our community, right? And helping people make a beach buying decision. And so our goal now is to continue to do that, where people associate, oh my gosh, I can go to this beautiful Charleston area and have a beach vacation. At the same time, specifically lifting up Isle of Palms businesses. And that's what we hadn't done before if you weren't a member of ours, right? Specifically, like Sandy's been a member my whole career, but so this will lift up every business who chooses to be, and they don't have to pay anything. It's just because they have a business license here on Isle of Palms. So that's where we're headed.
So when do we think that will be up and completed? I mean, is
Well,
there a
I think
time
it's gonna,
line?
we're gonna have to beat the bushes a little bit with people.
The
Yeah.
framework is ready. It's just the number of listings.
we have sent messages to all our IOP businesses who have a business license, encouraging them to sign up, because it'll be a matter of them providing that information to them.
Mhm.
I know that now with the Chamber of Commerce and their efforts of, having an organization with all of them should be helpful in getting the word out. And we have an upcoming business quarterly meeting next week that will continue to push that message forward. So I don't know how many people have responded so far, but it's really up to the businesses deciding whether they want to be a part of this specific
Well,
website.
Well, we were talking about who are those businesses that want to. So if you think about it, maybe the plumber who's here probably doesn't care about it, but the grocery store might want to be, right? So I think that it might require, we've been talking internally about using some of our team that has a good relationships with so many of our members out here, kind of go beat the bushes a little bit, just because everybody's busy, particularly small business people, they're busy, right? This would just be the reminder that this would be an easy way for them to get some additional business. So maybe y'all can help us spread the word too.
So if you have an individual rental house, is that considered a business as far as
It
you're
would be,
concerned?
yes, if they have a business license, they can be on the site. And I think that's the magic, is they can be lifted up individually now, where before, people had to get through the advertising we did with Airbnb or VRBO. This way they can be lifted up individually if they choose to.
How are they contacted that this is even available?
So that's what we're doing, using our list of all the people that have a license with the city.
So everybody that has an individual house for rent, you're notifying that this is available.
That's the plan. That's what we've been trying to do.
'Cause I haven't got
No?
Carla got it first.
any.
Carla got it and Curtis did.
That's my wife.
But that came from one of the concerns for the accommodation tax committee, that how these accommodations fees are being paid by the overnight visitors, but not necessarily everyone would choose to be a member of Explore Charleston. This way, every single person who chooses to be and has a business license can be lifted up.
So again, if you have a business license and you have a rental house, how are you represented on this
Well,
website?
show what our mock, can you get back to the mock-up? I was just gonna show you the mock-up. Sorry. We have a mock-up of, so you have.
So it lists all of the homes that have participated, is that?
Yeah. That's the goal. And again, back to making it easy, y'all, the best thing that we can do for our community is to make the buying decision where we create that big ad campaign. We create the desire. We are going to Charleston, South Carolina. We want them to choose to buy. And if we have those folks on the site, we've created a desire. I want that island opportunity. Here's the house. I can book it here. So that's the goal.
See, there's one home listing already up there. So you as the business owner would provide us with the image and then the description, and we put it in our system and it populates on the site.
And that's free.
Yes, sir.
Because you're a paying business license. How did you say it?
Just has a business license with the island.
And let me mention something on that too. That's one of the outcomes that you took away from the ATAX committee,
Absolutely.
right?
Yeah.
Can you tell us a little more about the impact that the ATAX advisory committee had on some of your decision making?
Yeah, well, it was really, I feel like but there's a couple of very specific things. First was the fact that they really felt strongly that everyone on the Isle of Palms who had a business license who chose to be interested in receiving visitors would have a listing. So this will allow each of those businesses to do that. So that was the first one. The second one is they felt very strongly that the Isle of Palms should have its own page, not just within the Charleston Beaches community, but they should have its own page specifically for the Isle of Palms. And so we've got that in for this year. And again, that's one of those things that I think will begin to change as this new chamber begins to develop what the image is that we want to sell to the rest of the world, right? And we'll be able to, for that message, we'll be able to stand alone, and that message will be able to be incorporated into the bigger message for our community.
So when's the deadline for getting a picture of your house?
Well, we don't have a deadline.
It's ongoing. So as we get people in, we keep adding them. So we don't want to cut anybody off, because as you said, you weren't aware yet. So we don't want to have a deadline on you.
Well, the other opportunity we have with that is to be able to also take it down. So we had one owner call us and said, okay, well, I really don't want to be on there then. So you as an owner would have the opportunity to put it up when you wanted it up and take it down when you wanted to take it down. So I think that that's one of the things that we have the ability to do because of this new site.
And Helen, why don't you also talk about some of the initiatives that you've worked with the city on that are not necessarily marketing driven, sort of an
You mean like
example is
the
the
clean-
Coast is Clean,
Yeah.
that we've worked on.
Yeah. Well, I mean, one of the things that Desiree and I talked about, so the Coast is Clean was a great partnership. It was great. It's important for us to talk about our beautiful place being clean, but most importantly, when you talk about that, it tells people from the outside world how we care about our community and how we feel about it. So I think that's been an important part of it for us. The other thing is, it's one of the things that are really important is tourism management is, as we look forward, and we're always careful how we say that we want to create an overnight visitor with high yield, right? You know, y'all's long-term goal, more bodies doesn't necessarily serve the island well. More people choosing to spend more money does serve the island well. So I think that one of the things as we look forward, talking about what are those tourism management tools that we can take advantage of to make the island an easier place to live for the residents. Because at the heart of everything we do for Explore Charleston, we know if the residents aren't having a good experience, the visitors probably are not having a good experience. So those two got to walk in.
Can you tell us a little bit about the relationship you have working with Trina and the Chamber of Commerce Group? Can you elaborate a little bit more?
Well, I just feel like we just
Either
got
you or
started.
Trina.
Just got started.
We did. We just got started. Explore Charleston has been incredibly supportive of helping us begin. It's really hard to begin something without seed money. We had a lot of people just jumping in the first few meetings and getting really excited. And then we're like, shoot, we don't have any money. We talked to Explore Charleston. They have endorsed a new website for us, which is going to be great. They've supported us, been at all of our meetings. They've really helped us kind of step up to the next level as a chamber, getting our feet on the ground. We have a lot of exciting things in the pipeline right now, and branding the island, branding our business community within the island, and creating this association that has a really good relationship with the city, which is much needed, I think. So yeah, I mean, they have really, I don't think they've hesitated for any support so far.
And our goal really is, I think that it's always, the best messaging comes from the people on the ground, right? And I just think it's gonna, for our long-term success, we're gonna be able to talk about what makes this place special from the people that live here and run businesses. And that's where the magic starts, because that's how people make this buying decisions.
Quick question. What's the difference between if I join for free and like say somebody like Sandy that's a member?
Well, right now, the benefit that you get is just all the other membership benefits, like, listing in the visitor's guide or a wedding guide or that kind of thing. So I guess, and technically, if Sandy decided he didn't want to be in all the guides, he could drop his membership. He's not going to do that. As one of my longest members.
What about that?
But I mean, that's the worst thing that can happen with this, right? That's the worst thing is that people say, well, gosh, I don't even need to be a member, right? I can just get on there for free. And you know what? At the end of the day, our membership revenue is not a giant part of our funding, right? Between the state and our accommodations tax, so much more of our money is made from things like advertising, right? So if we lost every member, right, it wouldn't be the end of the world. It wouldn't be the end of Explore Charleston. We don't want to do that, right? But because that private sector revenue means a lot to us. I mean, gosh, Wild Dudes is a giant partner. I won't say publicly how much money they invest. It's a lot. So that's really going to be the difference. I mean, people might decide, gosh, I don't need to do that because
It's
I
the
have
same
all this
exposure
information.
though?
No, well, it would be on the site.
On the site, yes.
But you wouldn't be in the publication as an individual list.
So this would be basically the Isle of Palms website. You'd have to go to your major website and there's a link.
Well, you can have both. You can have both. So you're going to be able to get to us individually. So
Mhm.
let's say you want to go to the new website for this. It's not done yet, but
Right.
Trina's team are working on it. So
Working on it.
you'd be able to go to Isle of Palms individually, right? And you'd be able to get to it from the main Explore Charleston website. So the benefit to this site is, gosh, how many visitors do we have?
Sorry.
But I mean, this is the engine, right? This website is the engine that pushes folks to make the buying decision. So what we want to be able to do is be able to get to it both ways.
So you have already two unique URLs that will go straight to that page. So y'all can advertise those, put that out there as we will be too. So they don't have to go to explorecharleston.com.
Does that make sense? So you're going to be able to get to it both ways.
Okay.
And the goal with that is before you create the horsepower, so you don't lose anybody, right? You get people that are interested in specifically just the Allen Palms, like, this is where I'm gonna go, I live in North Carolina, I know exactly where it is, and the person coming from Boston who doesn't know anything about our community, and they can get to it that way, so it does feel.
What are the advantages of going with spending the 30% aid tax on a destination marketing organization like the CDP versus, let's say, the Isle of Palms starts another task force committee and decides to hire an outside marketing agency? Speak to that.
Well, there's been a lot of conversation about outside marketing, but we are not a marketing agency. We're a destination marketing organization, and there's those across, and people have compared us to an ad agency. We're not ad agency. We're not a media company. We do that buying, right? We're like the whole package, right? So for us, I mean, the key is that in this community, one of the reasons we've been able to be successful is our municipal governments have banded together and said we're stronger together than we are apart. And because of that, we've had enough money to match the state money to get some really awesome advertising. So for a community, if you look at the greater, Charleston County area with over 480,000 people, we have the marketing budget and reach of much larger communities because the governments have chosen to work together to leverage that. And also the reality is, and we hear this all the time, and we don't like, as residents, we don't like to hear it, but the reality is people don't know geography, right? And they just know about a general area. And we laugh all the time, like, probably when you flew into Charleston Airport, you didn't know you were landing in Charleston, and you probably didn't know you were driving through Mount Pleasant, and then to get to your house on Mount Palms, right? You went home, you probably said, I went to Charleston. So that's the benefit that we have marketing together. But I think the magic that where we're going is, I don't think it's an either or decision. I think we can have both. The Isle of Palms can have its own unique branding and what makes them special, as well as being part of the overall self for our community. So I think
So we could take part of the budget that goes to you and put it into another organization, just a little piece of
you
it.
can do anything you want. So the way that the law reads is the 30% money that you're required by law to invest in the destination marketing organization is you have to spend it on advertising marketing. We've had a lot of questions like, could we use it for something with the fire department, whatever. All the rest of that money I showed you, the rest of that $6 million, you can use that way. Only this 30% of the state money is the only one that they tell you exactly how you're going to spend.
I have a quick question about your budget real quick. So it looks like you're bringing in about 8 million from ATAX funding, give or take. And we're providing 10%-ish of that. Some communities are not partaking in giving ATAX money, which we're well aware of. How are we distinguished as a community in relative to the amount that we're providing on your website or different advertisements? Are you branching off a little bit more for Kiowa and Isle of Palms and downtown Charleston because they're providing more funds?
Well, it's been one of the core questions asked by the Accommodations Tax Advisory. And again, what we have done in the past is the destinations have chose to band together. The smallest who have, I laugh to say, like Sullivan's Island has like 3 rental units. We can fill them up pretty fast. Filling up all of Isle of Palms is really hard, right? Because you have a resort and you have hotels and you have condos and you have houses. So it's really based on the amount of effort that it takes to do the work, right? So that's how we've done it in the past. So if you're really about the Folly Beach example, I think that there's been a lot of conversation about Folly Beach, and we'll solve that when we get to it. But for right now, I think that the magic for this community, without blowing up what's been so successful for destination marketing, I'm hopeful we'll be able to do both. Have individual identities, right? As well as have the overall vision for what this community is all about. And those two, if we can do both, everybody would get to be in for free. There's no downside, right?
One of the things we ought to clarify also is that, you know, the 30% has to go to a DMO or DMOs. I mean, that's by law, that has to happen. The other 65%, you could still carve out a portion of that for advertising and marketing also.
Right.
So it's not like there's a limited pool of dollars. I mean, you got that other 65%. If we said, you know, we want to form another DMO to do whatever we needed to do, we can fund it out of that 65% also, portion of it.
That's
Am I
correct.
correct?
Yeah, that's correct.
So it's not just, we're focused on the 30%. That's our mission. And our recommendations to council ultimately on that, but there is that other greater pool of money that we could draw from as well.
But there's sometimes, it's like that we're also in hell, right? Let's just say that we were doing a very bad job and all of a sudden occupancy was dropping and wild dudes is coming to you, beating down yours, and they're terrible, right? If we're successful with our new Isle of Palms chamber, they could service that, right? Down the road after they've existed for 2 years or something like whatever.
Well, they have to prove that they have a solid sort of
Right.
ongoing tourism promotion program.
Right. But the goal is that, what I'm saying, is that the benefit is that if everything went south, right? You know, you're starting to begin to have something to catch the ball, right? And I can assure you that just like we have there, we will be great partners with Isle of Palms. We're really excited about what they're doing. We used to have a business association. How long was that? 15 years. We had a great relationship with them before they kind of fell apart. So we know that can work.
I think Sarah had a question.
I just wanted to clarify, so I know you guys are typically focused on the regional level of marketing, so if we're looking to shift in this direction of spending some money more focused specifically on Isle of Palms, is that something that you guys would facilitate for us?
We could.
Are you capable of doing that, or is that?
We're absolutely capable of doing that. And that's easy to do. The question has always been, and this is where y'all have to ask yourself the question, is that going to create what you're looking for, right? Because we really want someone to spend a night. And so yes, we can do that. Let's say you decided that you wanted to advertise just the Isle of Palms in AAA in Charlotte. Yeah, we can do that. Easy. That's not hard, right? And that, I mean, we do that.
I was gonna say, I think part of that goes back to Sam's question too, is because we do everything in-house. We have the relationships to make that happen across earned media, paid media. We have our own graphic designers that can work with y'all, and we're here. So there's not a lot of,
But remember, we don't have any pride in how the first visitor gets here. I mean, if it came another way, I'm okay with that. I just want them to choose to spend it on, right? So yes, the answer is yes, we could do that. And the question is, would that be as successful as if we ran a Charleston Beaches campaign, right? That might draw some more traction, because one of the benefits for creating overnight visitors is the image of that brand of Charleston. That beaches is a big part of it. So yeah, please.
What's the occupancy rate of Isle of Palms?
You haven't, it was just on that slide, I don't know. It depends on the day.
Wild
It depends on the
dudes.
season. It depends, but this past year, it's been over 80%. It's one of the highest we've ever had. And y'all know, because people are ready to get out and go. They can't go to Europe. People are paying really high prices. I mean, those of you who have little units know that you never made more money than you made. The other flip side we've had is we've been talking to some folks like Sandy. We're losing some units, right? Because people who live somewhere else who had a house here are choosing to live here, right? Well, all of a sudden our inventory is starting to go away. And that's got long-term ramifications for the whole budget. Because remember, I'm just getting 30% of 2%. The island's getting all the rest of that money. So that has impact that we have to watch. Is that really bad? It's really not bad.
We had a lot of conversation yesterday at a budget workshop that council had in regards to the forecast for this year going
Right.
forward. And I would say we were sort of split as to what we thought the year would look like in terms of tourism. With one camp saying, well, because of the gas prices, we may not be drawing the number of people that we normally do because of the escalation of gas. And then another group, that said, we think it's going to be to our benefit. What do you say?
It's absolutely going to be to your benefit. I will tell you that the folks that are choosing to pay the rates that are charged on the Isle of Palms are not going to not come for an extra $48 of gas.
Mhm.
They're still going to come. Now, they may bitch about it the whole time, right? Because everybody wants to talk about gas prices. We have to say that from a media perspective, it's more psychological than it is real cash. But, you know, when you're paying several $1,000s for this beach vacation, you're not gonna not come because of that extra money that you're spending at
Always ask myself, what does a gallon of Starbucks coffee?
tax.
$22.
Yeah. $22 a gallon.
I will say, but our forecast is very, very good. Obviously, share that with us. See a really, really bright year, particularly in those parts of the year that have not been good in the past. Because one of the things that happened with people coming to our beautiful community and what we used to call the off season, right? People know now it's awesome. I mean, we know that. We're glad people leave. We want the beach to ourselves, right? But February's a great time. March is a great time to be here. So that people are starting to know that now and made a difference.
I think it helped us make a more attractive destination too, in some ways because of COVID. Because not Sandy could back this up, I'm sure, but maybe Sam, but we had so many people coming in from the Northeast.
Yeah.
During COVID, coming down and staying in homes, whether it was their second homes or renting homes or whatever, but there was a lot of that activity that went on as well. So.
And a lot of them discovered Isle of Palms, never had been here before.
That's one of the biggest comments we're getting right now from some of our new Breeze flights. Particularly when all of a sudden we're getting all of these, not surprisingly, California inquiries. They want to come spend their summer vacation in our community. But it's because they can get here, right? And that Northeast corridor was opened up with a amount of direct service. Because even if you want people to come in and out, you have to say that the people that maybe rent the house are going to come stay for 2 weeks, right? But their children or their friends are going to come in and out. And being able to have access really matters.
What's the size of CVB in terms of DMO? Where do you rank in regards to your competitors throughout the state?
We're a
South
mid-size,
Carolina, Florida?
in the state, we're probably the second largest, Myrtle Beach is by far the biggest. The Myrtle Beach DMO is also a chamber of commerce. And they're also, what else are they? They're regional. They're regional also. So we're second largest, Hilton Head is third, then Greenville and Columbia. And then in the southeast, I would say we were at the bottom of the top, and we're smaller than the New Orleans,
Right.
but bigger than Savannah.
And are they, I heard you say that they're also regional, so they're also focusing on this mentality or this model of.
Right. So we are a regional tourism organization in addition to being a regular unit. So we are the regional, also representing multiple counties. So that's why you see more than, that we reach into Berkeley County with Daniel Island, we reach into that part of 61 is in Dorchester, we reach into Dorchester. So we're a regional and we are,
And that's a state destination.
state destination. And how many regionals are there? 11. We're one of the 11.
I have a question. Sarah's question kind of sparked something. Have you all ever considered doing some sort of budget that you would give a municipality to spend directly? Like, so you would manage it. So say, I don't know, just throwing out numbers, 5% of the total amount that we paid in, that we would be able to do direct advertising. So if we wanted to throw up an ad that was just general branding of Isle of Palms at the airport, we could have some sort of designated amount that we could use directly for Isle of Palms, but y'all just managed
We
it.
never considered that, but I don't know why we wouldn't be. Again, that would be a decision of our governing body, which would be the board. But again, remember, our goal is
Yeah.
to serve you, right? We want to do whatever is going to be best for the island. So if that's what's best, right, then we're all in. But the key is, and I've been pretty transparent about this meeting, what I don't want to happen is I don't want to lose our regional brand because we've been so successful in creating something special. And Isle of Palms is a big part of that.
For sure. I mean, what y'all have done with the airlines in the last 10 years, I remember being a member of council under Sandy and attending the meetings on behalf of them and seeing the amount of airlines bringing in and just seeing the trajectory of tourism go up from that. Travel and leisure, I think, give a huge hand in the decisions that they make.
We wish we did. Unfortunately, that's reader's choice.
I would love to write.
No.
Be a number one every year. That is.
We asked
Not
always
possible.
ask us that question. I was like, oh, trust me, people.
But from a
they're gonna
consumer
write a much bigger
standpoint,
check.
You're obviously influencing the readers enough And when they
Yes.
come, you're influencing them enough to make the choice to come, to then go back and vote and report on how wonderful it was, right? So it does kind of come full circle.
We hope, that's our plan.
Mhm. It's worked so far.
Helen, you had presented I guess this is a program of work, City of Isle of Palms budget. And looking through that, and you had, expenses in here, and you had a number of bullet points. Has the task force gotten this, Desiree?
Yes,
The
I
program of
believe,
work?
yes, it was included in the
In the
first
first
packet.
packet, okay, I would encourage everybody to look at that. But
If
there's
y'all
also,
need it to look prettier, we can, that was just a budget sheet, so.
yeah, I mean, I think we can always take a look at it and see where we could, make some improvements or changes or whatever. But, you have your expenses listed, and the percentage of expenses, what is the percentage of Isle of Palms, right? In other
Yep.
words, like destination marketing, $428,600, and the percentage of the expense is 56.74% of what we contribute. Is that right?
Well, and the reason it's done that way is I can't take the beaches campaign and carve it up.
Right. Right.
Right, and so that's how that percentage came about. And I know that's been really frustrating to the accommodation tax committee, because they want to know, how much did you spend on the Alpine?
Mhm.
Well, we spent all of this on the beaches, and you're part of that, so that's part of the challenge.
So that's all part of that. That's really lumped in with all the beaches, basically.
Right.
Okay. And then one of the last entries here too is the new expenses related to the Isle of Palms website and other programs such as Coast is Clean, which you've been working with us on. That's $157,000. So, and 20.80%. So that takes the percentage of expense from 100% to 120.8. So you're basically saying there you're investing 20.8% more than what we've given you. Is that what you're saying?
And
Am I
that's
looking at
because-
that right?
Yes, that's right, and that's because we get our funds matched
Uh-huh.
with the state money, so that the campaign that we bought, it's leveraged, and that's how that number comes to be. And I know that that's tricky to come up with, but I can promise you get way more than you invested in terms of advertising. You'd have be hard pressed to create an robust ad campaign that delivers the results on the amount of money you have just at 30% by yourself.
Right. Okay. Couple of things. We touched on Coast is Clean earlier, but I just want to reinforce too that Heather and I had a conversation recently too about their support for the law enforcement neighborhood support. Is that the acronym?
Lens?
Yeah, LENS, the LENS program.
So important.
And
Well,
they're-
again, back to tourism management, they're a key
Yeah,
part of that. And we
Right.
look forward to supporting.
Yeah.
I just think that as a community, we've done a really good job of advertising and promotion, right? We've done a great job. We've got great visitation. Things are going good. It's now time to not only do that and do the management part. And I think that crowd's really working toward that.
right. And so Helen and her group, they basically agreed to be a platinum sponsor for one of the fundraisers we're going to have at the new restaurant, as a matter of fact, in May. So looking forward to that.
And just for y'all to put y'all's mind at ease in terms of money that we receive from accommodation taxes, that has to be spent on advertising money. Because we have private funds from friends like Sandy, we can spend money on those type items from our private funds. So-
That's where I was going. with it.
Yeah.
I wanted, and
I always like to
I'm
make everybody.
glad you brought it up.
Yeah.
That's not part of what
No.
comes out of the advertising and marketing piece of it. That's
Those are
other-
the things that we choose to invest, and that's used from the board when y'all go through the budgeting procedure. Those are the things that we choose as the private part of our business, right? To make those decisions because it impacts how people see our community. And having better, cleaner, more beautiful, it all makes a difference in the end. If people don't have a good experience when they get here, they're not coming back, so.
And I know we're all busy people sitting around this table, but I would encourage everyone to get a chance to go back and look at the past year's ATAX committee meetings online, if you could. They're fairly lengthy meetings, so you might have to fast forward or whatever on some of them, but there's, to give you some good background, if you just go to isleofpalms.net and go down to the ATAX Advisory Committee, you see the different meeting dates, and they're all recorded. And And I know Helen was she presented at a couple of them also, but there's, I think, some very helpful information for all of you to look at in terms of background that kind of lets you know how we got to the point here that we formed this task force. Of course, our task force, what we're responsible for ultimately is to come up with recommendations as to how that 30% needs to be spent. Whether it's one DMO, a combination of DMOs, that's what our task force is going to be tasked with doing going forward. So we have obviously more information we need to gather. We want to be objective in all of this, but I think it'd be helpful if you just go and get as much background as you can, and have yourself more informed as we have these meetings. Any other questions? Well, we want to thank you, Helen, Catherine, for presentation. Appreciate that. And Desiree, anything to add?
No, if you have any questions that come up as you continue to sort of study this issue, let me know. We do want to schedule the next meeting while we're here, so we might, if everybody can kind of look at your calendars.
Let me,
Can I just clarify?
Yeah.
Ask a clarifying question?
Sure.
So next steps, you want us to go back as much as we can and educate ourselves on prior. Would there be any benefit to having a representative? I know Ray sits on our task force, but to have somebody who can give us cliff notes as well, maybe in a short presentation from the ATEX committee?
I think Ray, as the current chair, should be, we can ask him to do that.
Yeah,
Yeah.
just, I mean,
Yeah,
as much as I want to be
No, I
cruising
know.
those meetings, that's probably gonna be 30 hours long.
believe me, I
You also
understand.
have some very well written minutes.
Yes.
Yeah, that's true.
I understand.
Maybe start with the minutes, and if you see a conversation that sparks your interest, you can, go back to that specific meeting. Certainly, I mean, that's the most efficient way, potentially. And then, is there any conversation about I know that I've sent you all some additional materials for you to look at. Is there anything else that we can produce to you? Any financial documentation? I know that in the original packet, we also showed you a history of our accommodations taxes, and you've seen how that has progressed positively year after year. I mean, we're about 30 to 35% over our last normal year. So we're seeing that, stable, and not only stable, but increasing number of accommodations taxes to the city, which allows us to do a lot of stuff, a lot of projects without necessarily impacting the full-time owners, full-time residents with property taxes. So that's, I think, a big piece of information that should be studied really carefully as well.
Yeah, I was going to add, maybe looking at the budget holistically, right? So this is just 2%. Well, it's 30% of the 2% that's of the greater 14% of accommodations taxes. And I think it would be good to look at the city's budget holistically, looking at how accommodations revenue affects the rest of the budget, right? Because I think it goes into property taxes, property tax valuation, it goes into business license fees, it goes to parking, it goes into sales taxes. I think it really affects a lot of the budget of the city of Isle of Palms. And another item, was there ever a legal opinion done on whether or not we could go to another DMO or form another DMO?
There is not currently, but I think I shared with you all a letter that was sent to the Attorney General's opinion by the Tourism Expenditure Review Committee, asking for that same clarity.
Okay.
Attorney General opinions are just that. They're opinions, but
Right.
they carry a lot of weight. That's something that I don't know what the timeline is when that should be expected. But that certainly should help provide a little bit more clarity as to what the law says, because it hasn't been challenged. There's no, we can all have different interpretations, right, of what the law says. So that's, I think, why the TUR committee requested that opinion for additional clarity. So as soon as we are aware of that opinion being issued, we'll certainly share with that, and I'm sure that that'll generate a lot of discussion, and will really help carve the path of what we as a city are able to do according to how the state law is written today.
Oh, when I read it, I was under the impression that it said that if they exist, you can't create your own.
That is, it seems to be Turk's interpretation.
Turk's interpretation.
so-
I got, yeah, it was
Yes.
really legal.
Yeah, keep in mind, it is Turk's
Gotcha.
interpretation of what they think the statute should be or whatever. So,
Right.
and they're asking, I guess they're asking for that to be reinforced by the Attorney General.
That's correct. I mean,
Yeah.
it's a very, very literal read of what the law says, which I've shared with you also. You please take a time to read it. So yeah, I think that that's a big piece of information that I think we should be on the lookout for before we go down a path that, whether or not would be supported by state law.
And that was a letter from Ed Riggs, chairman of Turk, to the Attorney General.
One more quick question, just the point of clarification. We're making a recommendation to council. What does that deliverable look like? Is this a letter to council? Is this getting voted on by this body?
We
Is it a
ultimately
majority
will
vote,
have
unanimous vote?
A vote,
Right.
but once we get to the point where we, feel like we've got some, some recommendation for council, we will, we'll have our normal discussion, we'll have a vote, and we'll go forward with it at that point.
When the task force was formed, there was discussion about giving you all 6 months to go through this whole process, research and educating yourself, analyzing data. So that's in terms of a deliverable, that's the timeline, the timeframe that we've kind of given ourselves to do this work. In terms of how does the recommendation look like? That's just going to be a deliberation of this body. It doesn't have to be one recommendation. It could be multiple recommendations, it could be short-term, long-term recommendations. So I think that you all have that flexibility as we go through this process to determine what is the best path forward for the city.
That good, Sam? Okay.
So for the next meeting, just to clarify, I think we can put together a very in-depth presentation, a financial presentation that not only talks about the 30% of the 2% of the big, and really show you all and the public the impact of tourism revenue in general to the city's budget, and how we are able to support a lot of the services and a lot of the projects that the city currently does. Because of how strong our tourism revenues have been and are projected to continue to be. So we'll make sure that that's on the agenda for the next meeting.
Also, it's item 5, your discussion of what additional data, research, information needed by task force. I think we all pretty much agreed that we wanted to have the Folly Beach group come in and do a presentation. I think that would be prudent if we do that. So if we could push that button and see if we can get them in for a meeting, do a presentation to the group. That good with everybody?
Yeah.
Okay.
May I also ask Desiree, you mentioned having to have the DM or the organization prove that they have an ongoing marketing budget. What does that process look like?
So we don't know. I mean, that's just, I was telling you what the law essentially reads as to, when a DMO can be, whether if a DMO doesn't exist, you can create one, and then there's a process by which you have to follow. But I mean, Folly is one example that they've created their own. Because of this letter to the AG opinion, I would be cautious before going down that path before we hear back from the AG, but certainly that's a model that could be looked at.
I
But
guess,
there's no guidance. There's really no guidance out
Right.
there as to how do you prove to have an ongoing tourism promotion program. I think the key with accommodations tax is how can you prove you have the ability to generate an overnight guest at the highest rate possible, because that's what generates, again, continues to feed the beast, if you will. So to me, there's a lot to chew on before we can answer that question, because there's really no guidance to municipalities on how that works.
Many smaller municipalities handle it through their Chamber of Commerce. Is that correct?
That's right.
Yeah. And of course, Myrtle Beach being a very large one, but they do it through the Chamber as well. Okay, so we'll have a presentation we'll set a meeting date here in a minute, but we'll have a presentation in regards to how the money's spent, basically. And we'll try to line up Holly Beach to have them come in and make a presentation as well.
Okay.
Okay. Next step, assignments, we talk, just try to get yourself as informed as you can on the materials that, and, you know, the minutes from the ATAX committee, just as much information as you can get, that would be good for you to have yourself armed with. And next meeting date, how does the, what's 31st of this month? March 31st. Is that good for everybody?
Sorry about that.
Thursday, March 31st, that
Yeah.
works for.
2 weeks from today? Good. See a lot of head nodding.
Perfect.
All right, set it up for 3:31. And anything else for the good of the group?
9 a.m.
Yes. Thank you, Helen, and for your team to
Right.
come, and
Yeah,
we
thank you, Helen.
appreciate your time. And
Thank you, audio visual. And marketing director.
we all have one.
All right, I hear a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Motion to.
Somebody second, Sarah second.
Yeah.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed,
Share.
thank you.
You made it.
Graduating.